What's going on, guys? So we are out here at the storage taking a look at our old fifth wheel. This is actually the 2016 Coachman Chaparral fifth wheel. This is a 360 IBL that we used to have. Now, we owned this for a little over 3 years before we sold it to some really good friends of ours. And I wanted to use this as an opportunity to kind of explain some of the conversations that I see in the comment sections and on different forums about buying a new RV versus buying a pre-owned RV and some of the pros and cons that can kind of go along with both. So hang tight, I'll be right back. All right, so there are really two thought patterns when it comes to buying a used RV. One of them is that if you buy a used RV, the previous owner has fixed all the problems and you're getting into a unit that's going to be more reliable than buying a new one. Now, there may be something to that, right? Because if a previous owner took really good care of their RV over the life that they had it, then the reality is you probably are going to get an RV that has a lot of really nice perks, a lot of things that have been addressed before you get it. But you have to think, what are those typically going to be? Could be a plumbing issue, could be a tire issue, could be a suspension issue, or it could be something that's completely off the wall, like an air conditioner going out or a furnace or something like that, or even your thermostat. It could be something super minor, like trim falling down, or maybe a little part of the floor that lifted up, or maybe even a problem with one of the pieces of furniture and the furniture got replaced. If you look at this unit that we sold to our friends, I did a lot of upgrades to it, right? I upgraded the tires. It has the Saloon S637 tires on it. I added, side view cameras. I have a second generation Reese Goose Box up front. I mean, there are a lot of really cool upgrades that were done to this RV, including suspension upgrades, right? It's got the Road Armor suspension with the heavy-duty greasable shackle straps, wet bolts. It's got the really nice Glow Step Revolution steps already installed, some LED lights all the way around it. I replaced pretty much all the lights inside with LED lights, and it's got a really nice RV lock. A lot of great features. So when my good friends purchased this from us, they got a good unit. There was a lot of things to like about it. But there are things that you still need to be concerned about and things that are important to look out for, because now that you're buying an RV that, granted, may have had an owner who took really good care of it and did a lot of upgrades, there may be areas that just through normal wear and tear that could potentially still be problematic. Let me give you an example. 6 to 8 months after they purchased the RV from us, the rear air conditioning system had a leak and it no longer functioned properly. So it ended up needing to be replaced. And thankfully, my sponsors, etrailer, were kind enough to send us a replacement air conditioner so we could kind of do an evaluation on some of the aftermarket units. But otherwise, he would have had to pay for that expense. There are a number of different things that we never had a problem with, I never had to address, but just through usage alone could eventually become a problem. Think about the shackle hangers. We never had a problem with it, but with the thousands of miles that we've put on this RV, could they potentially be a wear item? Could they be an item that might eventually fail just because we put a lot of miles on it? There are other areas. The refrigerator, right? We never really had a problem with the refrigerator, but it's several years old now and it's been used on multiple camping trips. So is that an area that could potentially be an issue in the future? Your axles, bolts, different pieces of trim that never fell down, some of the sealant, some of the things that you're supposed to maintain yearly and just keep an eye on. Those things naturally are going to still need to be maintained, and it's going to have more wear and tear on them. And the whole point of this video isn't to discourage you from buying a pre-owned or a used RV. It's just to understand the benefits as well as some of the issues that you might have with both. Now, the biggest benefit is the price, right? You can get an RV like he did for roughly half the price of buying one new, which means you have a lot of extra money left over to spend towards repairs or anything that might pop up while you own it. The other side of it, and the other thing to think about, though, is whenever you're buying it pre-owned, you may not get the same financing terms. Now, I never recommend someone do a 10, 15, or 30-year loan on an RV. I think they go up to 20 years, actually. And in my opinion, it's too much of a depreciating asset for you ever to benefit from that at the end of the day. Your RV is probably just not even going to be around at that point anymore, and you'll still be paying on it. Typically, I recommend treating an RV kind of like you would treat an automotive loan. Maybe at the most do 72 months, maybe a little bit longer than that, but just understand understand that an RV is never going to gain value. It's never going to be something that's going to appreciate, or it's going to really go up to a point where you can call it an investment. An RV is an investment in your family, an investment in your personal life and relaxation if you're not having any issues, but it's definitely not an investment in terms of it being an asset that you're going to make a return off of physically whenever you go to sell it. And one other thing to think about is if you are looking at a pre-owned unit that has had a significant number of upgrades to it and is really low in terms of mileage, how much it was used, that's really where the value is going to stand out. For instance, the tires that came on our Coachman were crap. They were really, really poor quality tires. So the tires that are on it now would have been an expense to him if he wanted to upgrade them. The wheels we upgraded. The shackles we upgraded. The shackle hangers we upgraded. Added all sorts of stuff to it, right? We even added better landing gear up front. So we put thousands of dollars worth of equipment into this RV that otherwise would not have come on this RV. So that's kind of the swap. Right? You might have expense in terms of some things that need to be repaired or replaced just through usage, but at the same time, how many upgrades, how many benefits are you getting in exchange for some of those issues, right? Because it's kind of a compromise. You buy a new RV, you're less likely to have an appliance or something just fail through normal wear and tear. You might have just a bad appliance in general, but typically it's not going to be as bad as potentially one that's 4 or 5 years old that has usage on it, or even older than that, that's just going to wear out through time alone. But that's the whole point of this video. It's to really express the fact that if you're going to get into RVing and you are looking at a pre-owned model versus a new model, the pre-owned model really is going to be beneficial to somebody who's looking at spending a lot less money for a relatively similar unit, and it's going to have miles on it, so you might have wear and tear items. You may even have items that were just neglected. They were just not taken care of by the previous owner. Shoot, you may be buying an RV that the previous owner had so many problems with, they're just trying to get out of, and they didn't do anything to it. So imagine if I was that person. Imagine if we had a ton of problems with this. I still upgraded the tires, I still upgraded other components, but there was some underlying issue that made me want to get rid of it, and it wasn't related to the stuff that I added. Well, now I'm just handing those problems off to the new owner. And you hope you don't buy an RV like that. You hope you buy an RV that the previous owner took really good care of. You hope you buy an RV that somebody actually put some pride into and they tried to make better over its life versus just letting it kind of sit there and fall apart. And we all know buying a new RV does not go without problems as well, right? You can buy a new RV, you can have minor plumbing issues, you can have major issues, you can have slide issues, you can have electrical issues. You can basically have the same type of issues or even more buying a new RV versus buying a pre-owned one. The difference is really the unknown, right? You don't know what type of issues you're going to have on a new RV because everything's supposed to be brand new. It's supposed to work properly. Little minor issues can really frustrate you if you paid much more for a new unit that has those issues versus paying significantly less. I believe our friends that purchased this one probably knew getting into it that there might be little wear and tear items that need to be addressed. I tried to take care of almost everything before we sold it. I did not know that the air conditioner would have eventually had a problem, and you know, you try to do your best to take care of situations like that. Anyways, I just wanted to make this quick video to talk about really the difference between buying a new RV versus buying a pre-owned one, understanding what benefits come with a pre-owned unit, but also understanding that a pre-owned unit isn't going to be without issues. It's not going to be without problems, but most of the problems will likely be tied to just usage of the RV and not necessarily, you know, poor craftsmanship. A lot of that stuff tends to get fixed by the owner, but you do want to inspect it. You want to make sure that you're buying a quality unit no matter who you buy it from, whether it's new or pre-owned. So take your time. Anyways, guys, I sure hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, and we'll talk to you again very soon.